Have you ever heard of the Ken and Barbie serial killer? I had heard them called that before, but I wanted to look into it. And let me tell you, they're gross. They're very gross. They killed lots of girls. They did horrible things to 14 and 15-year-olds because that was their victim of choice, including Barbie's sister. It's gonna be a really hard case to talk about today, and there's a lot of stuff that needs to be talked about. So if you're down to hear about Karla Homolka and Paul Bernardo, come with me to get spooky. Let's get spooky. Let's talk about stuff. Okay, guys, my name is Detroit Allycat. I love all things true crime, paranormal, anything unusual, weird, and topics that people don't talk about. Before we begin, I would like you to know that I am wearing clothes. I was out in the pool because I had a hard day and I took the dogs out and jumped in the pool and just threw on a tube dress. And I keep thinking I should sit up for you so you guys don't think I'm naked, but I'm just going to tell you, I'm not naked, okay? And on that topic, it's not really the same topic. Listen, let's talk about this video I'm going to jump into. It's disturbing. Like, we're talking disturbing. Like, I cover a lot of disturbing things. Like, I can't even tell you how many things that I've seen in the last couple of weeks that make me feel weird. This one right here, this is a really rough case. We are going to talk about sexual assault. We're going to talk about sodomy of minors. We're going to talk about a couple that thought it was cool to kill the little sister of the female, and it's gross, it's sick, and it's true crime. We're going to go to Canada. So, trigger warning if you are going to feel really grossed out by this story. This is just not, this is a bad one. This one's going to leave you feeling icky. I felt icky. I felt really icky. So on that note, let's start if you're still with me. Let's go to Canada. I don't get to talk about Canada very often. I live in the US of A in Michigan, and Canada, they have problems, but they don't really have a lot of serial killers. So it's very interesting when I find a serial killer in Canada. They have problems. There's something called the MMIW that I would love to talk to you guys about one day. It's called Missing and Murder Indigenous Women, and that is something we should cover soon. But right now, we're not going to talk about it. But also, for a serial killer couple, that is a very unique situation. They have them, they're out there, but they're all very famous because it's such a unique thing. And it really is like one feeding off the other one, and it's weird. And it's always gotta do with something sexual. So, I find that when you have a serial killer couple, sex is involved. I it is. Alright, I have the pad paper. I had to do the pad paper. There's a lot of things that we gotta discuss. I had to put the glasses on. Oh, no, they look so good. Alright, let's talk about it. Karla Homolka and Paul Bernardo. They killed, as we know, 3. 3 people. Um, Paul Bernardo was actually a mass rapist, and that was crime separate from the people the children, the young girls that they killed together. Let's talk about the 3 victims. It's very important, and then we'll go on to talk about how it happened, what happened, and all that good stuff. So the first victim was actually Carla's little sister, Tammy Homolka. And this one I find very tragic. She's the first victim in the trio that we know of. She was only 15. I think she had just turned 15, and they killed her on December 24th, which we all know is Christmas Eve. It was in 1990. Carla worked at a veterinary clinic, so she had acquired some sedatives and some drugs to knock people out. They drugged her, they assaulted her sexually, and at one point, Tammy couldn't breathe and she passed out. They tried to resuscitate her and she ended up choking on her own vomit and dying. And what's crazy is that Tammy and Carla's parents were upstairs. My dogs are gonna be sassy. They're running around growling, they're doing a thing. Hopefully they won't interrupt us, but the thing just moved. Okay, stop it. Stop it. Just stop. Stop. They can sense that I don't like this. All right. So, okay, you just got to give them a little knock it off, boys. All right. So, Tammy died, and what I think is crazy is that Carla's parents and her other sister were upstairs sleeping while this crime was committed. You guys are going to knock down all my equipment. I feel it. I feel it. My dog is under my table. He's got a look on his face like, "Let's do it. Let's get it going." I'm gonna keep going, but if everything goes up in the air, it is what it is. Okay, the second victim was in 1991, June, only 6 months later. Her name was Leslie McHaffey. She was abducted, tortured, and murdered. She was only 14 years old. She ended up going out, but when she came back, her door come on, guys, knock it off. I'm not editing this out either. Sorry, guys. She went out, and when she came back, her door was locked. She couldn't get back in. And she tried to find a place to spend the night, and nobody would let her spend the night. I would hate to be the friend that said, "No, you can't spend the night." But while she was trying to figure out where to crash, Paul ended up seeing her. He abducted her. He took her home to Carla. The 24 hours that Leslie was with them is absolutely horrible. Like, Ugh. They did some horrible stuff to her. In between assaulting this girl, they would give her a teddy bear. I just don't know. I just coulda lived a long time without hearing that, you know? And, not only did they assault her, they committed sodomy, and for those of you that don't know what sodomy is, Google it, because 'cause I'm not gonna tell you. I'm just not. And if you're a full-grown man that likes to commit sodomy on a 14-year-old, I'm just gonna say there's a special place in hell for you. Yeah. Alright, moving on. Kristen French, she was in April 1992. Crystal French had just turned 15. I don't want to say I liked hearing about Crystal French because she ended up staying with them for about 2 or 3 days. The thing that I appreciated about the Chris did call her Crystal? It's Kristen French. The thing that I appreciated about Kristen is she fought back and she would say really awful things to them. Not awful. She would just say things, like, she would say things to him, like, she would fight back. What did she say to him? She looked at Carla, and she's like, "I don't even know how you can deal with him." And then, Paul asked her, like, "Why won't you just do what I tell you?" And she said, "There are just some things worth dying for." I'm so impressed at a 15-year-old who would say something like this. It's very hard talking about these victims because see, the dog just did it. They're babies. their babies. They had their whole lives ahead of them. Uh, so when the deal the after Carla and Paul were found out, what happened was is that Paul ended up beating up Carla one night. They got into a fight. He beat her face in with like a flashlight or a mallet or something, just really bad. And Carla's family asked her to go to the hospital, and Carla ended up telling them that Paul beat her up. And because of that, they found out that Paul and Carla had committed all these crimes. Now, at this point, the authorities thought that Carla was a victim of domestic violence. And where she was a victim of domestic violence at that one time, she was complicit in these crimes. But because they didn't know that, and I'll tell you why they found that out, because that's even more sick, she got a deal. She got a deal in 1993. She made a plea bargain, pleaded to guilty in manslaughter for 12 years. 12 years for killing her sister and those 2 other people. But she wasn't convicted for her sister for some reason, and then once she got that plea deal, they could never change it. And the reason that they wanted to change it is because after she did the plea, they searched the house that Paul and Carla lived in, and they found videotapes, because what do narcissists do? They videotape what they do. And they videotaped themselves raping and torturing these little girls, and they could see that Carla was completely complicit in these activities. And Canada, the citizens of Canada were extremely upset. And thing is that Carla ended up serving the 12 years. They wouldn't let her out early because everyone hated her. But what's nuts is she ended up marrying her attorney's brother. And because everybody knew who she was, they had to move out of the country. And then when they found out who she was, where she moved, I think it was out of the country, or maybe it was just like in a different area in Canada. But anyway, once they found out who she was, she moved back to Quebec. Quebec is where they're from, by the way. And yeah, everybody in the neighborhood they don't want her there. About 10 years ago, I had watched a video. They had found out one of Carla's children was going to a school. Carla went on to have normal life after all of this, by the way. She ends up having 3 kids, which I think is nuts. Like, why? I just don't think she should be around children. But one of her kids was going to a school, and the people that had their kids in the school with her, they found out about it, and they basically, like, revolted. They were like, "We don't want these people here." I feel bad for the kids because they didn't do anything wrong, but nobody wanted Carla around her kids, and I cannot blame them at all. Like, I would not want Carla around my kids. Alright, let's go a little bit back, okay? Let's talk about the whole crime. I gave you the good chunk of stuff because sometimes I feel like you wanna know the information and then, like, get out of here, but now we're gonna go back. So Bernardo's trial, he was convicted in 1995, first degree. He was convicted for Mahaffey and French. He was also found out to be the Scarborough rapist because when Carla went to the hospital for getting her face beaten, somehow they connected the crimes of Paul to the Scarborough rapist. They know for sure that he sexually assaulted at least 18 women, and he did this between May 14th, 1987 to April 6th, 1991, and they think that he raped up to 23 women. This guy was just a creeper from day one. He was sentenced to life in prison, no chance of parole for 25 years. Then, I think the 25 years came up and they decided that they're never letting him out, which is kind of a big deal for Canada because they don't they're not as rough on offenders like we are over here. So for them not to let somebody out is impressive because I feel like Canada's they're just not like American prisons. That's all I have to say. Um, so let's talk about Paul's background before, like childhood. Bernardo had something called Scot scotophilia. They make these big terms. It's peeping Tom. He would get sexual gratification by watching women in their windows and getting undressed. He was a peeping Tom. He was a creep. He was a creep. At 16 years old, he found out his dad was not actually his dad, that he was a product of an affair. And after this, he just started hating women, but he was very charming at the same time. He went on to get his BA bachelor's. He went on to get his bachelor's of business logistics or something in that. But while he was doing that, he also was part-time smuggling cigarettes across the border to Canada. I always joke and call it Canada. I have to say something weird to get through this case. Canada, Canada. Homolka was a pretty normal girl. She got brought up in a normal family. I just don't know how that's possible because she's gross. She's a very gross woman. And her big rebellion is that she dropped out of high school to go to veterinary school and she ended up working for a veterinary. She loved animals. Yeah, she loved dogs, animals. Isn't that weird that she liked to torture sexually children and she loved animals? Such a strange combination. It gives that, Silence of the Lambs, it puts the lotion on its skin while holding a little dog. That's the feeling. Um, so that's actually where she met Paul. She went to some kinda convention, and it was a veterinary convention, and she met Paul in the lobby of the hotel. Within a couple hours of meeting Paul, she went up to his room, and they had sex, and they were together ever since. I have more. I have lots of more. Um So Paul, when meeting Carla, became infatuated with Carla's little sister. Carla had two sisters, but her little sister was 15. She was Tammy. Her name was Tammy. She was like very athletic. She was a cheerleader, soccer, all these things. She was like, a little athletic girl, and she was really cute. There's video of her. So, Homolka Karla was diagnosed a malignant narcissist. I had to actually look this up because I was like, malignant. That sounds like a cancer. I think sometimes these doctors they make up some stuff just to explain why people are really bad. So in this term, malignant narcissist means really bad narcissist, which means like they only care about themselves. Everything's about them. And the fact that her man, Paul, liked her sister, she didn't think, "Ooh, gross. He likes my 15-year-old sister. I shouldn't date this dude because he's creepy as F." No, 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 no. She saw her 15-year-old sister as her competition. And uh, Paul like tried to convince her, like, hey, can I like, do stuff with her? So Paul convinced Carla that they should rape her. I don't know how that conversation came up, and I don't know how she said yes to it, but Carla did. And this is why Carla's a very gross person. This Carla's a gross person. And, and she just wants to live her life nowadays and be left alone. No, Carla, you're never going to be left alone. If anybody finds out who you are, they're going to be grossed out by you because you let your man rape your little sister and she died. Ew. Not even ew. There's more emotions. Like I get so hype when I hear stuff like this. I do. Um yeah. So I told you what happened with Tammy. They got some of that the medication that Carla had from the vet school. They gave it to her. She ended up choking on her own vomit, but don't you worry, before that happened, they actually got to assault her a couple times, and it was Christmas Eve, which makes it even better. It was a Christmas Eve party, and everybody passed out, and they decided to keep ugh! And and 6 months later, let me tell you how messed up Karla is. So, they decide to make a video. It's called the fireside video. I don't know. I think they're sitting by the fire. I can't watch the video. I don't wanna watch the video. Anyway, Paul's talking to Karla, and he makes her admit that she enjoyed assaulting with him, her sister. And Karla says that, yes, it did turn her on. And then they go into Tammy's room, and Karla starts to act like Tammy, talk like Tammy, put Tammy's clothes on. Okay, this girl is dead. Her sister is dead. And then after she does this, they have sex together, pretending she's Tammy. Tammy, the little sister that is dead because they did that stuff. These people are whack. Whack. All right. Continuing on. Bernardo and Homolka got a bungalow. Um, they abducted Leslie Mahaffey, and that was their second, victim. I told you about that, but what part I did not tell you is they kept her for 24 hours, and then after they were done with her and they killed her, they encased her in concrete, tried to put her in a river, it didn't work out, and people ended up finding the remains. And the same day that they found the remains is the same day that Karla and Paul got married. Very special. See, something's wrong with these people. Like, wouldn't you be tripping out about that? Like, not just to mention like the morality of it, but like also they found the remains. Wouldn't you be stressed out that they would know that it was you? You these people were bad. They're just not good people. Yeah, so shortly after that incident, then Bernardo and Karla got into a fight. Paul ended up beating Homolka. I hope he really got it in on her. Really, like pounded her. I usually don't say stuff like that, but like she kind of deserved it. And it helped find out that Paul did all these things. So like that incident was it needed to happen. I'm totally against violence against women, but I don't know if, Carla really is a woman, to be honest. I mean, like, she has, like, all of the parts of a woman, but, like, I also don't know if she's a human because, like, humans don't act like that, or they do. I don't know. I just don't get how anybody could do the things that these 2 people did. I don't yeah. Mm. So, what else do I have in here? Carla lives in Quebec right now. She's got 3 kids. I have her husband's name. I'm not gonna say it because even though he's messed up for marrying her, he is. He's messed up. I don't know him. I don't know anything about him, but like seriously, dude, your wife did some really I don't know. I don't think she's redeemable, but okay. I'm just not gonna say your name. Carla has a bunch of aliases. I'm not gonna say those because apparently she deserves her privacy. She doesn't deserve her privacy, but I'm not gonna be person that tells you what her name is. You can Google it. If you wanna go find Carla, go find Carla. Um, there was another girl in between Tammy and their second victim, and they called her Jane Doe, and the only reason they knew about the other girl is because she was on the videos. Um, this happened in June 7, 1990. It was in between Tammy and the second victim. They, had her come over, drink a bunch of liquor, she passed out, they assaulted her. She woke up, she didn't know what happened. What's weird is she came back again and they did it to her again. She lived, she never died, so good for her, but she's out there, she's been assaulted, and I don't think she knows. They have the videotapes. Paul says that, he just wanted to, rape people. raped the girls, and none of them ever died until Karla was involved. And you know what? Paul's right. Nobody died until Karla was involved, or at least we don't know of. So I just think that Karla is really messed up. Okay, so let's talk about Karla more because, I like to talk about Karla. Apparently, she was diagnosed as getting aroused by sadistic psycho psychopathy. She enjoys watching sexual violence done on others. And the psychologists all agreed that if she was to ever meet another psychopath that liked to do sexual assault, there could be a chance that she would become involved in it. How this woman is walking around with kids and a family, I don't know. Yeah. So that's all I got for you. There's more. There's more, but I think I gave you the good stuff. Like, I could tell you about their family and their family life and all that stuff, but, like, I can barely tell you about what I did tell you without wanting to throw up. All you need to know is that Karla is walking around free in Canada, and, Paul, he's in a little tiny room, and he's never getting out. And these people are what nightmares are made of, and I hope that karma is real and one day both of those people get it. I don't want anything bad to happen to Carla's kids because they are innocent, but I find it hard to believe that Carla hasn't done anything weird to them. And I also would love to know why Carla's husband is with her because he knows exactly what she did. Like, I just can't believe that he's not turned on by that a little bit, knowing that he's with a serial killer. You're with a serial Okay, okay, see, I get so hyped up sometimes. Alright, guys, that's as far as I can go today on these things, and I'm gonna leave the pictures of the victims at the end. I don't know if I wanna say I hope you enjoyed my story, but I hope you found it insightful and that it helps you remember there are monsters out there. They're walking around, they're really gross. They say that, like, serial killers are slowing down. I don't believe that. I just think that they've evolved and somehow they're not getting caught. Mm. Stay safe, stay spooky. F you, Carla and Paul. That's it. Okay, bye.